Welcome to the makeup meeting for December of 2023. So I want to start out with some reminders to all of our van drivers. Now, van drivers, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, you are held to the same expectations as the bus drivers, the same expectations for driving and for maintaining your vehicle. In fact, you probably have a little higher standard for maintaining your vehicle because it's a smaller vehicle and can be done a lot quicker than a bus can be done. But really, there's no reason for any vehicle on our lot to not be well maintained. So van drivers, you are not allowed to Bluetooth your phones to the vans. That includes the rental vans. Now, the white vans, those do belong to STA. And then the rental vans, those are the smaller ones with all the different state license plates. When my trainers go out and do van evaluations, van training, the first thing they always check is what is Bluetooth to that van. And they will be deleting any. And if they see that you have Bluetooth the phone to the van, they come and talk to me and I will be talking to you. So there's no reason for this. The white vans have radios installed, and all of the rental vans, you should be taking a handheld radio with you at all times. Also, students are not to be eating in the vans, just like we don't want the students eating on the buses. Same thing for the van. As a van driver, you're a little bit at a disadvantage if you had a student starting to choke and you needed to get back to help them. It's going to take you a little bit more time because it's not as easy to move through the crowded interior of a van as it is through the interior of a bus. And drivers, keep your eating at a minimum. Okay, it's very frustrating when I go into the vans and there's all sorts of cups from the gas stations, candy bar wrappers, fast food bags. You shouldn't be taking company vehicle through any fast food establishment anyway, okay? I understand you go in to get gas, you run in and grab a drink or something like that. Let's keep that at a minimum too. And if you're going to have a drink in the van, clean up after yourself. Get a broom out. The shop has lots of brooms. You can bring in a blower. The shop has shop vacs. Get that vehicle cleaned out. It should be swept every day. Really, at the end of every route, you should be taking a broom or a little handheld broom, whatever the shop can provide you, and do a quick sweep out, especially the white vans. They're the rubber floors. They sweep out really easy. But there's no reason for trash accumulation in those vans. Let's keep our vans clean. The cleanliness of your vehicle actually reflects upon you as a driver. And it says something to the schools. It says something to the parents that are putting their child into that vehicle. And when they see that you don't care enough to maintain the cleanliness of your vehicle, it raises question as to your dedication to safety and to driving and keeping their child safe. So this is not just about keeping a clean vehicle, company image. It's your image as well. So let's do a review of the accident. So as most of you know, I was not here for the month of November. And so I'm going to kind of combine our November and December accidents for this call. I'm not going to show you a whole bunch of accident videos. I mean, quite frankly, in the last year and a half, 2 years that I've been doing these safety meetings, we've covered a lot of accidents. Okay, I am going to show you some. Because it is important to look at what had happened and for you to self-evaluate. That's the purpose of showing the videos, is so you can self-evaluate. You can look at your own performance and say, hey, am I doing the behaviors that I saw in this video? So, month of November, we had 4 recordable accidents, and in December, up till the time of the safety meeting, which was about the middle of December, the week before Christmas break, we were at 4 recordable accidents. We did have 1 recordable accident the Friday before we left for Christmas break, and we'll be reviewing that in January. So as I go back and I look at all of our accidents and injuries from the start of when we took over this contract, looking at the root cause of the accidents and boiling everything down, I thought it was really good that we get a reminder of our vision, mission, value statement. And so as I go through the accidents, it seems like this is what our vision, mission, value statement has become. That our main goal and mission was to complete the paperwork, to run on time at all costs, and to beat all of the traffic. Does that sound right? Hopefully you said no, that is incorrect. I have up here on the screen what our actual vision, mission, value statement is. Our vision We're going to do it right the first time, every time. Our mission, to remove and reduce risk, and our values, no unsafe behaviors. Just as a reminder, what is risk? Risk is any unsafe behavior or action that has the potential for injury or damage to property. We need to remove the potential for damage or injury. Okay, so no unsafe behaviors, to remove and reduce that risk, and we're going to do it right the first time, every time. That's why we have so much training. That's why you go through 25 hours of classroom, 18 hours behind the wheel, yearly evaluations, monthly safety meetings, additional trainings, why we do 8 to 10 to 12 hours of training at the beginning of the school year, why we talk about this all the time, because we need to do it right the first time, every time. We have people's lives in our hands, not only the children on the bus, but the other motorists around us. When we change a lane without looking, we're potentially risking the life of somebody else, another vehicle. When we make a right turn on a red, and you cut somebody off, there's a potential for an accident, for damage to property there. We don't want that to happen to anybody. So let's keep this in mind. Our vision, do it right the first time, every time, remove and reduce risk, and no unsafe behaviors. So here's a quick rundown of our November recordable accidents. The pictures that you see here are from one of the accidents, and then I'm going to show you a video as well. So we had our van that drove into the holding area. If you watched the November safety meeting, the makeup meeting, I discussed that in that video. That has the actual video in it. If you want to see that, go on YouTube, find the November makeup safety meeting. You'll see that video. One of the key factors in that accident, one of the root causes of it, was excessive speed. The driver was going 35 miles an hour in the yard. Completely unacceptable. We also had a bus that was pulling into their parking spot strike another bus. In fact, it was the same exact bus. We had an accident that happened back in, I think it was April. Same exact bus, same exact parking spot, hit the same bus that got hit in April, different drivers. What was the problem there? The root cause, reference point error, and again, speed. Going too fast, pulling into a parking spot too fast. You are paid by the minute, okay? When you are finishing up your route, doing all of that kind of stuff. Now, yes, we ask you to keep track of your time, but we're not asking you to shortcut safety at all. We do not want you to speed into your parking spot, speed out of the lot, anything like that. The few seconds to minute that it may take you to slow it down and be a little bit safer, that's a cost that's worth paying, okay? We also had a bus that was leaving a school that struck a stop sign with their tail swing, and we're going to watch that video next. And then we had a driver interacting with a tablet as they started to roll forward at a stop sign. There was a bus in the right lane next to them. Our driver was in the left lane, and they drifted over into that right lane, struck the other bus towards the rear, and these are the pictures that you are seeing here. That convex mirror, the bottom mirror, or the lower small mirror, became embedded into the side, one of the side windows, student windows of the other bus. So what was the lead cause there? Distraction, interacting with the tablet while the bus was moving. And I'm glad I'm not glad. I was kind of surprised, but happy that it's taken this long for there to be this kind of accident that happens. Those of you who've been driving with the tablets know that black screen doesn't come up until you get over 15 miles an hour. So if you're going 5, 10 miles an hour, you can still interact with that screen. Should you be? Absolutely not. If you forgot to close out your your first route when you left the school, and you're noticing, oh my gosh, I didn't close out my route yet, pull over, then close out your route. Don't be doing it while you're sitting in traffic, starting to roll forward. That's terrible. I mean, we've gone over and over and over about driver distractions, drivers doing things at stoplights and starting to roll forward, and very bad things happening because of that. So next I'm going to show you this video. This bus was leaving Frontier Elementary, And you'll see as they go to pull into the exit area of Frontier, there's a bus waiting in the road. And I do believe we ascertained that that bus was waiting to turn into Frontier. So they were holding back, allowing the bus that was in there to exit, which I greatly appreciate. I hate it when buses try to crowd each other getting in and out of these schools. So this was removing and reducing risk on that driver's part. And if that's you, good job. Thank you so much. But the driver leaving made a few errors. So I want you to watch the video and then we will discuss what we saw and what could have been done differently. All right, so what could have been done differently? Well, maybe holding back and letting the bus that was waiting on the road come in first. Okay, that is an option. Um, you'll notice that the driver of the bus that struck the sign, as they pulled out, they swung over to the right. So they tried to make a wide turn. And when they pulled into this, so the BTW that responded to this accident was telling me that when they had lined up to exit, they were all the way over by the sidewalk on the right hand side. They were really way too close to the stop sign to begin with. If you remember, when you make a turn, or really anything, we don't want anything within 3 feet of the sides of the vehicle because that tail swing can move up to 3 feet. And that's what happened here. As the driver was pulling forward, and then they even went over further to the right as they started the turn, and that tail swing moves over, struck the stop sign. It actually bent the stop sign down almost flat to the ground. It was quite impressive. So that's something that could have been done there. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think could have been done differently in this. Um, it's we get it. We get into a rush mindset, um, and it's just like I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. No, you don't. Okay, whatever happens behind the wheel when you're driving, you are responsible for. And so if you hold back and radio the driver and say, "Hey, why don't you come in first? I'll wait for you," because then that driver could have taken up that whole exit area instead of trying to be clear over to the right to potentially allow that bus that was sitting out on the road to come in. So I challenge those of you that have schools where it's this way. One of the big ones, Lewis and Clark Middle School, they're at the stop sign, especially in the morning. You have buses coming in and buses exiting at the same time. Buses that need to exit, if you've got a red light, hold back and give about 15-20 feet so that the buses turning in do not have to cut that corner and potentially run their rear duals to off track over the curb. If it's a school like Pioneer, uh, those kinds of things, the buses that are out on the street, hold back. Uh, talk to that driver if this is where you're meeting all the time. Have some sort of signal, something, or say, "Hey, if I'm there and I see you, you come in first." Really, we should get the buses that are outside of the school trying to get in. We should let them in first. I know it's going to depend on the school, the time of day. Is it release? Is it morning time? Whatever it is, but slowing down, taking some time, taking a minute, taking a pause, it's never going to hurt you. Okay. And also, I want to say too is that some of the schools, such as Pioneer is one of them, um, Desert Sage, the cars will create 2 lanes where it is only 1 lane. Buses should never do that. If it is not painted for 2 lanes, then you go down the center of that road and you use up those 2 created lanes that those cars are trying to do. You don't want anybody coming alongside of you as you're making that turn. Now, if you have a car, so you've come into the center of that exit, and you have a car that inches in beside you, you don't go until that car moves, because you're risking hitting them with your tail swing. Yeah, they shouldn't have moved in there, but if you go ahead and turn and strike them, you're going to be found at fault. Okay? Welcome to the makeup meeting for December of 2023. So this video is the 3-way accident on the snowy and icy roads. It's taken from our bus, and if you watch really closely, you can see the point at which the Jeep hits the box truck. But since our driver now slammed into the Jeep, which caused it to hit the box truck again and made the damage even worse, our driver was ticketed for this incident. So as you watch this, let's talk about, when we're done after watching it, what could have been done differently. So what could have been done differently? Well, I think everybody looking at this could say, hey, slow it way down. So if you think back to your classroom instruction and monitors, this is a good thing for you to know too. When you're driving your personal vehicle, how much should you reduce your speed? By what percentage should you reduce your speed on icy roads? 75%. So the speed limit on that road is either 40 or 45. I believe it's 40 right about Locust Grove. Really, as bad as those roads were, I would have been going 25 or under. They were slick, plus you're coming down a hill and braking a whole lot sooner, knowing that you're approaching a light. So we are in for some weather still. It's only, today is January 3rd. We still could have, up until April. Remember the year that it snowed on April 26th? I do. We could still have bad roads for a good four months. So really think about those things, not only in your bus, van, but your personal vehicle. I've said it lots and lots of times, and those of you who've been driving school bus for a while know this to be true because we've talked about this. Is you cannot drive your bus the way you drive a car, but you can drive a car the way that you should be driving the bus, and following all of those safe practices. So this next video is the accident that is under review. I believe our insurance is going to be trying to collect from the driver that opened their door. You'll notice as the bus approaches, there are pickups parked on both sides of the road. So it's already taken a residential street, which, as you know, is about wide enough for two vehicles to drive comfortably past each other. But when you add vehicles parked on the side of the road, now you reduce it down to one lane. And as the bus approached, the lady in the pickup opens her door. So my feelings are she's not paying attention. Now, there is some question, could the driver have stopped in time? Their speed, they weren't going over 20 miles an hour. So they had their speed down for the neighborhood. That's why it's a little bit under review right now. This is also an issue when you drive through downtown Meridian. You have a lot of vehicles parked on the side of the road, and people don't pay attention as they're getting out of their cars. So when you are going through neighborhoods where you have vehicles parked on the side of the road, downtown corridors, if you go through downtown Boise at all, this is an issue as well. Be watching for car doors that could suddenly fly open. So as I said before, as I go through all of the accidents, really with every accident investigation, my job is to look at what is the root cause. So we look at the accident itself, all of the factors. Vehicle 1, which is always our bus, is there a vehicle 2? Was it a parked vehicle, a fixed object, pedestrian, student injury? We look at all of the factors, and we look at the video, and we look at the pictures and determine, boiled down to its most common denominator, what is the root cause? And we talk about this all the time, and as I figure out what these root causes are, I work with the trainers and we train. We try and focus some of our training to really focus on these different things. So when I looked at all of the November and December accidents, the biggest things I saw: reference point errors. Again, reference point, and speed. So what are we going to do about this? I love this quote that's right in the middle. You can never make the same mistake twice. The second time you make it, it's no longer a mistake, it's a choice. And really, you could argue, for the sake of what we do and all of the training that we have available to you, Last school year, I counted up all of the training hours that we made available to you, the drivers and the monitors, almost 30 hours of training just in 9 months available to you, talking about all these different things. And so, really, even the first time that you do this could be a choice. Now, I am willing to say, hey, look, you got sloppy, you let some bad habits creep in, but the second time, uh, it's a choice. Okay, you know better. You've been retrained. We've talked about it. We talk about these in the safety meetings. So this is what's going to be going forward. So I've told you in the past that every accident is a write-up, meaning that is a written statement. It goes in your file. You have to sign it that says that, hey, this is your first recordable accident. You're going to reduce some training. This is your second recordable accident. If you have another one in the next 36 months, you will be terminated. Or the third one is a termination write-up. The second accident typically involves even greater level of retraining. First accident typically is 1 to 2 hours of retraining with a BTW. Second one, anywhere from 5 to 10 or more hours, depending upon the circumstances of the accident, how many other accidents there have been. But any accident, whether it is your first or your second, that involves a reference point error or improper backing or speeding, you're going to have a minimum of 5 hours behind the wheel training before you can drive that route again. Now, this is not, well, my husband and I had an argument about this. He said it was punitive. It's a little bit punitive, but it's to develop skills. It's to get you to think about, why did the accident happen? Why am I making reference points mistake? Have I taken the information that was given to me and have I internalized it? Have I put it into my head? Am I really following these? Do I even believe in this crap? Because if this is something where you're like, this is just a bunch of crap, this is just a waste of my time, maybe you need to get a job somewhere else. Okay? Because this is important. Again, we have people's lives in our hands. So for, like I said, reference points, errors, backing errors, and things that involve speed, you're going to have this 5 hours of BTW retraining before you can go back on route. And the thing is, as busy as my BTWs are, you're on my timeline now. Okay, I'm not going to be, I may not have the trainers to pull them off a route, to pull them away from their trainees, to give you 5 hours. And it's usually going to be over a couple of days, because if I'm going to have them work with you on the first day, did that information stick? Are you repeating it on the second day? And also look at, what's the driver's attitude about this. If you're just being all, thinking this is stupid and dumb and giving excuses and that kind of thing, that's a problem. Okay, so just know, I'm giving everybody fair warning. When you have an accident, you're on my timeline now. Okay, your accident causes a lot of consequences for other people. It takes away from my time. Every accident, just the paperwork involved, the pulling the video, filing the police report, doing all of the paperwork, the meetings I have to have, is at least 5 hours gone. 5 hours just for the most basic fixed object accident where there's no other vehicles involved. When we start adding other vehicles and other people, it gets even more complicated. Now a trainer also is affected, and a trainee is affected, because you're taking valuable time away from that trainee for something that should have never happened. So, may sound harsh. I'm not going to apologize for that. This is a very serious subject. But what also this has caused me to do is to pull the speeding reports, and I will talk about that next. So one of the other things that is happening because of our accidents and how many of them involve speed is the speeding reports. I'm sure you have seen, I've already posted some of them. Right now, I'll probably step it up here now that we're getting past Christmas break. What I do is I go in, and the GPS on the buses, the Zonar, can tell me, I can tell it to show me every speed over the posted speed limit. And I typically will say, I want to see speeds that are 6 or 7 or 8 miles over the posted speed limit, and if it's driven more than like 7 seconds, 5 seconds. Because I do realize there are times that you get out and you're going with the flow of traffic and you look down at your speedometer and like, oh shoot, I'm speeding, I'm going too fast, and so you slow it down. And so I do understand that you do need some time to recognize that. But what I am seeing is speeds that are 10 to 15 to 20 miles an hour over the speed limit for a sustained period of time for several minutes. And so I am posting those reports with the bus number, the day that it happened, and where it happened. And as now that we're getting towards the second half of the school year, if I have people who are chronically doing this, I'm going to be talking to you. We're going to talk about some corrective actions, maybe some retraining, because there's no reason for us to be speeding. All right, so shifting gears here a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about student management with our special needs students. We've had some unique situations happen, and so I do want to talk about dealing with special needs students and good ways and poor ways to deal with situations. As you may know, hopefully you know that student management when it comes to a special needs student is going to look different than it is with a non-special needs student. The things that you can do on a gen ed or a reg ed regular education bus are different than what happens on a special needs bus. On a special needs bus, a child's behavior may not necessarily be because the child is being willful or disobedient or a bad kid or a bad egg or whatever you want to say. It may be a manifestation of whatever that child's need is. Maybe it's emotional disturbances. Maybe the child has Tourette's. Maybe the child has, whatever going on. And so this is a manifestation of that. And yes, we do still want to have good behavior of our special needs students. They don't get a free pass from bad behavior, but the way we're going to deal with it, handle it, the processes we're going to use, it's going to look different. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So when we're dealing with special needs students, here's some good do's and don'ts to remember. First of all, drivers, listen to your monitor. Okay, the driver and monitor are a team together. And if you don't have a working relationship, now I'm not saying you have to be best friends for life. Okay, you don't have to be socializing outside of work and making each other gifts and braiding each other hair. But you need to have a good working relationship and good lines of communication between the two of you. And drivers, your monitor is doing the majority of student management. And just for that fact alone, you should be appreciative to your monitor and you should listen to what the feedback they have to give you and you should help them out with that. Do not expect them to do it all. Or you say, I'll handle it all and not give some of that responsibility to the monitor. The monitors are also the one who many times get the brunt of the physical attacks. So drivers, you need to listen to your monitors. They have very valuable insights and information that you may not have. They allow you to drive just focused on the road. You get to do something that the reg ed drivers don't get to do. A reg ed driver is doing student management along with driving, and their attention, there's so much competing for their attention. Your monitor, a good monitor, allows you to really focus on your driving, and that is a valuable thing. And for that, to all of our monitors, I thank you so much. We have some amazing monitors here. You guys are so good, and you take time to get to know these kids, to make them comfortable, to work with them. And a good monitor is such a valuable employee. Monitors, make sure that you are interacting and engaging with these students. We have a lot of excellent monitors, but I've seen monitors who just sit in the seat. They don't look around. They don't talk to the kids. They don't do anything. They're just there to put in their time, get their paycheck, and be gone. And that's not right either. That's not fair to the students. It's not fair to the driver. Monitors, you have such a unique and valuable role. Okay, grow in that role. Now, don't get thinking that you're all that in a bag of chips, and you're going to tell the driver what to do, and you're going to lay down the law and whatnot. No, 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 no. This is a working relationship. Okay, so you have to work on that relationship with your driver and you work on that relationship with those kids. And it all starts out with being positive, greeting them with a smile, and understanding who the student is, what their triggers are, how to best work with them. Maybe you have a kid that can't handle direct eye contact. Okay, so don't make direct eye contact with them. Maybe they start giving off signals and you just need to back off. I totally get it. We all at some point are that way too. Um, but drive monitors, make sure that you are engaging with the students. Ask for help if you need it. You can come in and talk to me, to Rebecca, to Phil, to the student management coordinators. We can get a hold of the SPED directors at West Ada. You can talk to the teachers when they come out and say, hey, can you just kind of let me know what's a good thing to say, or are there things I shouldn't say, or anything specifically I should know about the student? What's the reward system that they have? Because many times the rewards that they have in the classroom, the rewards and consequences, we can carry over onto the bus. The bus is an extension of the classroom, especially for our special needs students. So ask for help. Keep that daily journal. I have stacks and stacks of steno notebooks, and you just keep one on the bus, and every day you make a journal entry. July 1st, good day today, no problems. July 2nd, um, Susie seemed to be a little bit upset today, said that she didn't like Billy. July 3rd, Susie took off her shoes and threw them at Billy's head. Because when we have big problems, when we have an outburst or where a student has maybe attacked or gotten physical with the driver and or the monitor, our special needs special services with the district, the first thing they want to see is they want to see the video from the entire route. They want to know from the time that child got on that bus to the time they got off, what was all of the factors. What was the weather like that day? Was it hot? Was it cold? Did they have a coat on? Did or Who was the monitor? Who was the driver? Were they their regulars? Were they different ones? Was something said? Did somebody grab at them? What all of that. And if you keep that daily journal, we can go back and say, look, this is a pattern of behavior that we've seen, or hey, this is a new pattern of behavior that's starting to develop. And make sure you communicate with dispatch. If your student is melting down or something is going on that's keeping you at the school or keeping you at the stop, or you need to pull over, you have got to communicate that with dispatch so that we can get those messages out to the schools. We can call a parent, we can call a teacher, we can let the other students know that the bus is going to be late. Don't talk about the students in front of them, especially in a negative way. And don't use passive aggressive statements. Don't be saying things like, boy, Johnny shouldn't even be on this bus. He should be in a van. We'll talk about that in a moment. Um, you know, Susie, you're just such a good kid. I wish Johnny knew how to behave like you do. That's rude. Okay, you wouldn't want anybody doing that to you. I mean, we just came through the Christmas holidays. Did you have any relatives over that make passive aggressive statements or talk about you like you're not there? If you don't want it being done to you, don't do it to these students. And the worst thing is some of these students, they aren't verbal, but they understand what's being said, and they can still react based upon what you're saying. And they still have all the same emotions: sadness, anger, frustration. Um, they just express it in very different ways. So don't talk about the student in front of them. Don't use passive aggressive statements. And do not make transportation suggestions to the parents or the school staff. Specifically, that child needs to be on a van. Okay. Vans are not there for our convenience. Vans are specifically for our transition students. Yes, sometimes we put special needs students on vans in very special situations, but that is not for you, the driver and monitor, to decide and to suggest. Because then now I've got a parent calling me going, I want my child on a van. Okay, well, I don't have a van to put this child on. All of those vans are running different routes, and I can't just, switch everything really quick. We're not post-it notes, rip off one, and there's another one all ready to go. Um, so do not make those transportation suggestions. If you have a suggestion, come in and talk to me or Rebecca or Phil or the student management coordinators. Let us go through the channels, okay? If that is something that could happen or is a possibility, let us go through those channels. Don't take that into your own hands. And don't use physical force to gain compliance, okay? The pushing, the shoving. Now, we've talked a little bit about, how can you defend yourself? Well, you can put your arms up. You can get between the student if they're trying to attack another student. You may take some brunt of that, but don't use physical force to gain compliance with these special needs students. Any student, really, but especially our special needs students. So this video is the three-way accident on the snowy and icy roads. It's taken from our bus, and if you watch really closely, you can see the point at which the Jeep hits the box truck. But since our driver now slammed into the Jeep, which caused it to hit the box truck again and made the damage even worse, our driver was ticketed for this incident. So as you watch this, let's talk about, when we're done after watching it, what could have been done differently. So why are we talking about anti-idling laws? Well, as you know, the exhaust that comes out of vehicles can be harmful to the environment and to public health. Have you ever been behind a vehicle that is spewing out smoke out of their vehicle? It's got, because it's burning a fuel, it's got that in it. It smells bad. Think about all the smog, especially around Los Angeles and the bigger cities in the 70s and 80s, until they started putting these anti-idling laws into effect. There was no way to regulate these. So the United States Environmental Protection Agency does have, I don't want to call them laws or suggestions, but they have regulations about diesel vehicles, and the majority of school buses are diesel vehicles, and idling. So while the EPA has regulations, they leave it up to each individual state to enforce the laws. And they set however many minutes in a certain period of time. They can set penalties, all those kinds of things. And for states that don't have anti-idle laws, and Idaho is one of those, we will follow STA's policy for anti-idling. Some states it's 3 minutes for every 60 minutes. Some states it's 5. SDA's policy for us here at our location is we will not idle any more than 5 minutes for every 60 minutes that the bus is running. There are some exceptions to this, and we are going to talk a little bit about that. So some of the exceptions would be you're at a traffic light, traffic control device. We don't want you shutting the bus down, and sometimes you're there more than 5 minutes. It happens, but you're not going to shut down for that. If you need to idle to maintain inside temperatures for the comfort of your passengers, and this really applies to our special needs routes, especially in the summertime when it's hot. Your air conditioning needs to be running because we don't want those students getting overheated. We have students who are sensitive to temperatures in the wintertime, especially if it's cold. Now, 40 degrees is not that cold. Nobody's going to die of frostbite or cold exposure in 40-degree weathers. But when it gets down around freezing and we need to have those heaters running for the comfort of our passengers, then we are going to idle. And you would use the high idle in that sense. For maintenance, service, repair, diagnostic purposes. So a lot of our vehicles run Cummins engines, and Cummins is on the forefront of this EPA technology. And one of the things that these diesel engines do, particularly the Cummins engines, is they do regeneration. And so there is a filter in the system that can get clogged up. We also use DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. And so really, truthfully, the air coming out of the back of the bus is cleaner than the air going in the front of the bus. After it goes through the DEF system, the filter, it takes out a lot of the particulates. And so the air coming out the back is pretty clean. But that filter can get clogged up, and so the bus will do what's called a regen, meaning that we'll raise the temperature of the engine and burn out all of the diesel particulates that get into that filter. And so we'll do a passive regen. On older vehicles, the bus actually has to sit and run for 20 minutes in a regen state, meaning that the engine is running high and fast. And so for something like that, the bus is allowed to idle. Other exceptions would be if the vehicle needs to be running to operate the wheelchair lift or other auxiliary equipment. to prevent a safety and health emergency. We're going to talk a little bit about this because this involves our camera system, and for pre-trips. Now, all of our buses here have idle timers on them, meaning that if the bus is idling at idle speeds, which is less than 1,000 RPMs, after a certain period of time, and I believe all of our buses are set between 5 and 15 minutes, it's going to shut down. Okay, so I know they're a little bit longer than 5 because we had issues with buses shutting down at stoplights out on Eagle and Franklin. Get on that long light. So the anti-idle timer after a period of time will shut the bus off. If you do your pre-trip, you're out walking around the bus, and all of a sudden your bus shuts off. That's the anti-idle timer shutting it off. It's been running too long. So how do we compensate for that? Well, you turn on your high idle. If you don't know how to do that, come talk to me. Come talk to BTW. They will show you how to do that. That's going to keep your idle timer from shutting the bus off. When we do cold start, that's how we keep those buses running for until you get here in the morning, is the high idle is set. So you'll notice, if you look at your RPMs, they're up around 1,500, 1,200, 1,500, and that gets your engine going faster. It gets the engine warmed up. It can get your heaters working quicker. So that's why we use the high idle. So now let's talk about the safety and health emergency. Now, if you were in a situation where maybe you had to evacuate or something like that, that's, I'm not even going to go there, okay? But when it comes to the video system, so we've had some issues with buses that get shut down, as they should be when they're at the schools, and having a problem with the video systems. So the video system on our buses will run for 15 minutes once the bus has been shut down. So if you have had your bus running and the green light should be on, and that's part of your pre-trip inspection. If that light is on, once you shut the bus down, you notice it will stay on for about 15 minutes. We've had situations where whatever has happened after the camera has shut off. The driver had to pull over to deal with student management. They've had to shut the bus down because they didn't want to be idling, and kids go out the back of the bus, but we don't have it on video because the video system shut down. Or something happens as the students are coming out from the school, like after a release, and the bus hasn't been turned on yet. And so what I'm asking you to do is, when you are shut down in the PM waiting for a school to release, once the bell rings or it's at that release time, turn your key on. Just turn it to the on position. Let your camera system come on, and so you'll watch that little red button should light up green. Once that lights up green, you can go ahead and turn your key off, turn it back to auxiliary. Your video system will be running. So as soon as those students start loading, we now have the video system running, and you're not idling. Or turn the bus on, get your video system running, then shut it down. If it's cold weather and you are staging out, maybe you have 20-30 minutes before your next route, you're not going to sit there and run that bus the whole time. Okay? Shut the bus down, and then in 10-15 minutes, turn it on, run it for 5 minutes, shut it down. And while it's running, get those heaters running so that you're getting some heat in there. But like I said, in 40-degree weather, nobody's going to die of exposure. Okay? That's only when it's really cold. Now, unless SHOP has said, do not shut the bus down. Sometimes we get into very, very cold temperatures where we get down into the single-digit temperatures or the negative temperatures, and SHOP may come on and say, do not shut the buses down because we don't know if they'll come back on. It's so cold. That is an exception to that as well. But for student management, and as far as that as idling is concerned, keep an eye on that button. Make sure that your camera system is working, that it's on at all times when you have the potential of having kids on the bus or have kids on the bus. So in states that have anti-idling laws that have to report these idling violations, it's very expensive. You can pay violations up to $37,000 for each violation. Now, if Idaho was one of those states, we got reported and we had 10 buses that were violating the anti-idle policy, $37,000 times 10, that's a chunk of change. So, you are required to follow the STA policy. If you are violating this policy, such as you've got that 20-minute layover between routes, that bus is running the entire time, that first time that happens, that's going to be retraining. It's going to be a write-up and a retraining. After the second time, you could be terminated for violating that policy. I don't care what your feelings are about environmental laws and all those kinds of things. Quite frankly, environmental laws have done a lot to clean up around our country. If you've ever traveled outside of the country and seen what the roads look like and the garbage and the filth, it makes you very thankful for the environmental laws that our country has. Okay? And so we're going to do our best to be good stewards of our resources, not burning fuel unnecessarily, but we're going to follow these policies. So please, if you don't need to be running, don't be running. Let's follow these anti-idle policies. Your compliance with the anti-idle policy is mandatory. I have put a policy in each of your boxes. Now, some of you already signed one. It was incorrect. Okay, there was some research that was done and showed that Idaho doesn't have this law in place. So we're following the STA policy. You will sign a new one of those every year. So get the policies in your box. If you don't get it signed and turned into me, I'm going to be tracking you down. So you might as well just get it signed, turn it into me. And if you have any questions about the policy, come talk to me. So the monthly focus for December is anti-idle training.